What do you think's out there?
All right, American Primeval is a gritty, raw storytelling masterpiece. And as I was binging that show, I couldn't help but pick up on some things that I thought would make a Dungeons & Dragons campaign even better. I'm Dad the Dungeon Master, I've been a DM for over a decade, and even I can learn things from these professional story creators that make movies and TV shows and write books. So here are the 3 lessons I picked up straight from the blood-soaked, gun-slinging 1850s. Let's dig in. The first thing I picked up from American Primeval is how they create complex characters. Isaac Reed isn't your typical rugged frontiersman. He is haunted by his past and he is burdened by guilt. Every choice he makes is layered with regret and survival instinct fighting against each other. This makes him a compelling and unpredictable character. Think about your D&D campaigns. Are your NPCs paper-thin characters? Are they just quest givers? Or can your party actually see that they have some sort of backstory? Because in order to achieve verisimilitude, the suspension of disbelief that makes your players feel like they're in a real living world, everybody has a history. And if you can hint at the internal struggles of your NPCs, your players will become more attached to them. To know that characters have flaws actually makes us attached to them more than if they were just perfect. And way more than if they were boring.
You don't listen.
Oh, I listen. I just don't trust you.
Think about an old weathered ranger who's leading your party through an unwelcome part of a deep forest, and as your party gathers around the fire at night, he reveals moments of vulnerability and trauma that he has in his past. Your party is going to attach to that character way more than they would just your strong, sturdy, never vulnerable ranger that's leading them through the wilds and has no fears. And they will invest more emotionally in that character, which is a good thing. The second major lesson I took, and probably the coolest thing about American Primeval, is the way that they handle moral ambiguity.
Why do your people have so much hunger to kill?
Whether it's the frontiers people fighting to survive, or the natives protecting their lands, everybody has a good reason for what they're doing. There's no right and wrong.
Whatever you're trying to protect you both, ain't no sin in that.
Dungeons & Dragons tends to lean more into the black and white of good and evil. You're the good guys, you're defeating the bad guys, and there's never any question. A lot of modern media, especially modern fantasy books and movies and TV shows, moral ambiguity is becoming a big hot topic that readers or players really enjoy. So instead of just making sure your party understands they're the good guys and they're fighting the bad guys, give them situations where there isn't necessarily a right answer. They're either choosing between the lesser of two evils or the better of two goods, with the lesser of two evils tending to be the more fun.
Civilization and civilized, 2 different words entirely.
So a good example you could use would be like a tyrannical town lord who is oppressing his people, but he's hiring you to protect the town from an outside threat. Is it the right thing to do to serve this lord and support his oppression of these townspeople in order to defend them? Or would it be more right for you to take down the tyrannical lord, leave the people to fend for themselves, and cause chaos and potentially some of the townspeople die because they don't have that unifying force? If you can create situations like this where there's no real right or morally good answer, your party will start to debate amongst themselves, and in that bubbling cauldron of player-to-player interaction is where the real beauty of Dungeons & Dragons starts to happen, where they really start to figure out and decide what their players would do. And as a DM, it would be really fun for you to be a part of that. The third and final lesson I took from American Primeval is the survival aspect of the setting. Whether it's the bitter cold or dangerous wildlife,
You got the Wasatch Mountain Range, grizzlies, wolves.
or warring factions,
There's war brewing in this territory.
the show constantly reminds you how dangerous just existing in that world is. Now, I am guilty of this, and I'm sure many of you are too, just hand-waving travel or ignoring encumbrance or ignoring travel rations, like what they eat, how they survive. When you get to higher levels, that makes sense because your party has plenty of gold and all that. But especially at lower levels, and the Icewind Dale campaign does this really well, surviving in the wild isn't easy. I mean, even if you go camping in real life, camping is still kind of hard on you. You still have to do things. You still have to chop wood. You either bring food or you have to fish or hunt or however you survive. And that's with the advantage of modern technology. In a Dungeons & Dragons world, they are in roughly medieval technology. So yes, they have magic, but not everyone. And especially in the low levels, really pushing how dangerous it is just to travel throughout the world, because unlike our world, they have monsters and magic and other things that can really hurt them, along with weather and natural disasters and any number of crazy things that a fantasy setting could have. So when eventually you do let your players kind of skip the travel and everything, when they're strong enough to where traveling isn't so dangerous, they will feel even more powerful. But in order to get them to feel that way, you have to make sure they understand when they're low level how tough it is just to survive out there. And one of the positives this has, especially on newer parties, is it makes them understand how every single decision they make could have life-threatening consequences. One of the things that makes Dungeons & Dragons special over video games is you only get one life with your character. And once your party is high enough level to where revivify and resurrection and all those things are a little more convenient, death really becomes more of a nuisance than a real problem. But in those early days, death can really pop up in an instant. And if there's no risk of death, then you're not playing a game, you're just telling a story. And if that's the kind of thing you want to do, if D&D is just story time, that's cool. But if you're one of those groups who actually wants to be playing a game, then you need consequences. And you can really hammer in the danger of the world and the fact that you have to be smart if you want your characters to survive is by giving them those environmental challenges. Have avalanches, have wild bears attack, have wolves circling the camp. Make them feel like the wilderness is dangerous. So that's what I took from American Primeval. If you've made it this far, throw me a like. If you want to keep up with my breakdown of other shows, campaign walkthroughs, general Dungeon Master advice, feel free to subscribe. Here are some other videos I've done that you guys might like. Thanks guys, and God bless you.